In today's video, we will see numerous events involving different characters from our favorite series Bitterland. Follow us to the end because there will be numerous twists and turns that will keep us glued to the screen. But let's start from the beginning.
Before starting, however, leave a nice like on Trust, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss all the next videos. Finally, leave a comment to share your emotions.
Yilmaz is in Zuleyha's office. A knot of emotions tightens in his throat as he prepares to talk about Zuleyha in a sincere voice. He confesses to all of them that they are partly to blame in this bitter situation, especially points his finger at Hunkar, the one who separated Zuleyha from him, forcing her to marry Demir. And how can we forget Demir? He too guilty, responsible for the hell that Zuleyha unleashed on her, depriving her of her beloved children. However, Yilmaz takes on her sin, that of having married Mujgan, deluding himself that Zuleyha had given her heart to Demir only for money, and Mujgan, with his pain, jealous, lit the fuse of everything that happened. In this room of culprits there are many, and there is an innocent soul, Zuleyha, whose life was tragically cut short. She locked up behind bars and forever deprived of her beloved children. Zuleyha is aware of her role and promises Yilmaz to do everything possible to get a light sentence, but he announces the hiring of a lawyer. In a moment of suspended silence, Yilmaz asks a fatal question: what will happen if Demir dies? But Zuleyha is a wall of silence and uncertainty, so palpable that it creeps into the air. Meanwhile, the Demir operation led by Sebahattin continues amid unforeseen difficulties. Hunkar, an anguished mother, hears the nurse asking for more blood, and at that moment panic breaks loose in her heart. Fearing the worst for her son, her desperate cries resound within the walls, but fortunately Fekali is at her side, a presence that has never left her. Zuleyha, sentenced to imprisonment, arrives in the cold prison cell and her soul collides with the harsh reality. Her eyes rest on a sleeping mother and the baby wrapped in her arms. Tears flow spontaneously like a rushing river that digs into pain. When Mujgan returns home, Behis is worried and asks where she has been. In a trembling voice, Mujgan reveals that her husband followed Zuleyha while she was being taken away. She followed her to her prosecutor's office, and she waited helplessly as they took her to jail. Behis, in a voice vibrating with truth, tells her that she doesn't really understand the consequences of her actions, of what she has done. Mujgan drowned in remorse for her, she cries in despair for losing Yilmaz, her love that she had escaped from her hands. Yilmaz, lonely, stands outside the prison door. His thoughts of him intertwine with memories of the times he accused Zuleyha, of the times he cast shadows on his hopes for her, their hopes, convinced she had married Demir out of greed. In that moment of reflection, he abandons himself to the regret and pain of having caused so much suffering to the one he loves. Meanwhile, Chetan and Gaffer, brandishing their sticks like swords, head towards those men who dared to insult Gulteen Zuleyha. The atmosphere explodes into a furious brawl in which the two heroes assert themselves with every blow, inflicting a harsh lesson to their opponents. Meanwhile, the operation on Demir ends in the hospital. Sebahattin approaches Hunkar, and in a calm voice, informs her that the surgery went well, but there are lung and kidney injuries, therefore, they are transferring Demir to intensive care. Hunkar and Fekali wait behind the glass that separates them from the chamber where Demir is fighting for his life. In those moments, Hunkar confesses to Fekali that Demir grew up almost without a father, as Adam was always busy with his mistress. Precisely for this reason, she was determined never to leave him alone. Then, in a voice full of love, Hunkar suggests to Fekali to go home, having spent the night together in anticipation and knowing that tiredness will soon take over them. However, Fekali is a beacon of support to her, assuring her that she will not leave her alone, and together they will face every challenge life has in store for them. Meanwhile, behind the cold prison walls, a guard delivers some blankets to Zuleyha, a kind gift from some women from the outside world, and orders another inmate to make her bed. At that moment, Zuleyha faces her reality without mercy, but in her heart she clings to a fragile hope. Yilmaz's return to her abode is greeted by sincere words from Mujgan, who expresses her displeasure. However, Yilmaz's response is like an icy wind: he will file for divorce. She won't separate her from their son, but she won't be able to take him away, and should she try to kidnap him, Yilmaz will find her and take him back, depriving her of any chance of seeing him again. As the tension builds, Behis intervenes to try to calm her spirits, but Yilmaz's words block her clearly. The love that consumes him is much greater than simple anger. Without looking back, Yilmaz walks away, leaving Mujgan lying on the ground, immersed in desperate tears. Meanwhile, at the villa, Gulten takes care of the two little ones, supported by Fadik and Sanai, the guardians of affection and courage. However, Haman's nurse, shaken by the turbulence that hit the villa, decides to resign, leaving behind a sense of fear and uncertainty. Zuleyha finds himself behind the freezing prison bars, while Demir fights for his life in intensive care in a dangerous balance. Mujgan has not lost Yilmaz, and the latter is determined to file for divorce. Hunkar and Fekali support each other, while Sitin and Gaffer continue to fight to protect their family. The plot unravels increasingly complex, leaving everyone uncertain about the unpredictable turns of the future. A phone call to the villa reaches Sanai, who is informed that Demir has undergone an operation and is expected to wake up from his coma. Hunkar advises her to pay attention to the children and her mother. Sanai is worried, and she shares with Fadik that if Demir doesn't wake up, it will be the end. She then gives instructions to Fadik to look after Haman, and entrusts the management of the kitchen to women, while she herself returns to work to keep the house functioning. Zuleyha has a conversation with a mother, also in prison, who however has her little son with her. Her mother reveals that she has been sentenced to life imprisonment, and that her son is with her because she has none of hers to entrust him to. Zuleyha is sad and silent and becomes the target of inmates who constantly annoy and humiliate her. The day of the trial arrives, and Zuleyha is taken to court. As she enters the courtroom, she notices Yilmaz waiting for her, then she is seated in the defendant's seat, and finally the judges take their positions. Zuleyha realizes that she doesn't have a lawyer yet, and Zuleyha informs the judges that the lawyer will be present starting from the next hearing. Zuleyha briefly explains the case, stating that the defendant accidentally shot a man, but the judge argues that 3 shots constitute attempted murder, and she changes the qualification of the case, thus deciding to continue Zuleyha's detention. As she is taken away in handcuffs, Yilmaz promises to save her and never leave her alone. Later, Yilmaz goes to Zuleyha's office, who informs him that the judge did not accept her version, and that now she will have to prepare a murder indictment. However, he assures him that he will look for a solution. Yilmaz, worried, objects that the judge will keep Zuleyha in prison for a longer period. Zuleyha recommends staying calm as there are many ways to fix the problem. Yilmaz then decides to seek a lawyer for defend Zuleyha. Sanai goes to Nasi's house to talk to her. She is greeted kindly, and Sanai tells the story of Gaffer, who, charged with collecting money from a man who had been robbed on the way, after Hadip got him drunk. When Gaffer asked help to Hadip, the latter gave him the money and made him sign a bill of 100,000 lire. With no more money to pay back, Gaffer and Gulten gave everything they had. In the country, the theft is said to have been done by Hadip. Sanai asks Nasi to believe her husband's innocence, and she promises to work hard to pay off that money. Nasi is grieved and asks for time so she can help fix the problem. Meanwhile, in prison, Zuleyha's companions target her by humiliating her and exploiting her for the humblest jobs of hers. Her sad condition does not escape anyone's eyes. Meanwhile, Nasi approaches her husband, who is sleeping, and she takes a bunch of keys that he carries attached to her belt. Then she catches up with Sanai, who is waiting for her on the street, and together they go to Hadip's office, where Nasi opens the safe and takes out a bunch of bills, returning Gaffer's once Sanai kisses her hands, but then she is worried, wondering if Hadip he will hurt when he realizes the theft. Nacy reassures Sanai, telling her not to worry about her, and also gives back the money given to Hadip, even though Sanai really doesn't want it from her. Touched by her kindness, Sanai hugs Nacy and thanks her very much. Meanwhile, Gaffer is in the kitchen with Gulten and Fadik, complaining about Sanai's lack of attention at which point she enters the kitchen. Gaffer gets scared and tries to justify himself, claiming he's just worried about her. Sanai hands him the bill that he signed from Hadip and tells him the story of the scam. Surprised, Gaffer asks her how she managed to recover the bill. Sanai explains that he spoke to Hadip's wife, an honest woman who returned it to him. Gaffer rips the change it and hug Sanai. She later also hands over the money already given to Hadip to her husband, and tells him that she will use it to open an account for Yüzüm, so that she can study. The following day, Hunkar stands behind the glass of the ICU watching over Demir. Sabahattin joins her and tells him that Demir is strong, that he will recover, urging Hunkar to be strong in turn, for his grandchildren. Fekali is having breakfast with Bihais. When Yilmaz comes, Mujgan asks him to talk, but he locks himself in the child's room. From outside, Mujgan apologizes to him, but Yilmaz doesn't listen to her, and holds the child in his arms, asking him to forgive him for not having given him a happy family. Later, Yilmaz visits Zuleyha in jail, to give her a surprising news: Demir is still alive. Zuleyha confesses to him that she shot her intending to kill him, but Yilmaz she explains that if Demir died, she could never gain freedom again. However, she is ready to accept any punishment, because she believes it is their destiny. Yilmaz does not give up. She assures them that they will change their fate, urging her to carry on and fight. Meanwhile, Bihais blames Mujgan for destroying a wonderful relationship and pushing her husband towards Zuleyha. Now the conditions for divorce are also decided. Mujgan tries to resist, saying she doesn't want to divorce, but Bihais explains that she can go back after what she did. She advises her to negotiate a divorce with Yilmaz, asking in exchange for the 4 houses in Istanbul so they can occupy one and rent the others. She will also get support and a substantial allowance. Bihais warns her that she must use her intelligence to move forward in her life, because Yilmaz will never come back to her. Yilmaz meets with Fekali and explains to him that she can't give another chance to her family after Mujgan, driven by her jealousy, caused Zuleyha's suicide attempt. He can't forgive her, and for him at the moment she is only the mother of her son of hers. Yilmaz is only worried about Zuleyha as he knows that she is innocent, and he undertakes to find a good lawyer for her, sure that the Yana family will try to punish her to the fullest. Later, Hunkar visits prison. Zuleyha apologizes for her actions and claims that she has no other choice with mine. Hunkar assures her that he knows everything and promises not to leave her alone. Her attorney is working on her case and will soon release her so she can be reunited with her children. Zuleyha accepts her punishment of her, but Hunkar promises that she will not be punished, and that she will return to her children. Zuleyha wonders why Hunkar is helping her, even though she shot her son, but Hunkar doesn't answer directly. He shakes her hand and assures her that he will do whatever he can to get her out of jail.
This video has also come to an end. If you liked it, like and leave a comment. Let us know what you think of these events. Subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell to not miss new videos.